What do you make it about Biden not showing up? You showing up before he did.
Former President Donald Trump has turned a disaster that he helped to create into a political win for him. So this is over the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, and of course the subsequent releasing of hazardous chemicals and all the impact that's currently having on the people living there and around there, and how Trump has utilized this moment to benefit himself in a way that really showcases how absolutely atrocious the Democratic Party is at politics. So I'll get to more of that analysis in a bit here, and I'll get to several clips showing Donald Trump in East Palestine and how the people there are reacting to him, including how local news has reported on this. But first here, I want to show you where Trump sits in Republican primary polling. Leading the pack, here this is from Morning Consult, a recent poll released. Trump up at 50%, with DeSantis at 30%, and Pence and Haley at 6% each. Now, for a while there, it appeared like DeSantis may have the potential to sort of win this primary. That, you know, he hasn't announced. He may not announce. But and when he does announce, if he runs, that may change things. But I don't know. The more that we see from data coming out and the way that Trump really is in campaign mode right now, as you're going to see, I think right now it really appears like Trump is going to be the nominee again. But before I get to the first clip, so I got a few clips coming up. First, here, to be clear about what happened, how Trump is to blame for, at least partially to blame for what happened. The U.S. Department of Transportation under Donald Trump, this is back in December 2017. This is when they announced intent to repeal electronically controlled pneumatic brake mandate. These are the ECP brakes that would have been on this train in East Palestine that derailed if it weren't for this deregulation. So understand, the Republican Party is for deregulation. They're for helping massive corporations, helping their profits to whatever extent possible, regardless of the impact on people, regardless of safety. That is what the party fights for. That is why they did this. Yet Trump is in there after doing this, benefiting. And before I get to the first clip again, just to be clear about the impact of this from Newsweek, speaking to investigative news outlet The Lever, which, by the way, The Lever broke this entire story, all the policies surrounding, including the blame being put on Buttigieg as well. But as they report, Stephen Dittmeyer, a former top official at the Federal Railroad Administration, the FRA, said the severity of the accident was likely increased by the lack of electronically controlled pneumatic ECP brakes. A rule was passed under Obama that made it a requirement for trains carrying hazardous flammable materials to have ECP brakes, but this was rescinded in 2017 by the Trump administration, as I showed you. And then the expert goes on to say, would ECP brakes have reduced the severity of this accident? Yes, Dittmeyer said. Yet here is Trump. First, I'll show you him at McDonald's. So this is Trump in campaign mode, and watch this with an open mind. Understand, like, pretend you have no opinion on these politicians at all. If you just saw him walk in like this, think about how you would feel.
What's your specialty today?
How are you today? Nice to meet you.
Hello, everybody. That's a nice, beautiful looking group of people. So I know this menu better than you do, okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here. We're going to take care of the fire department.
Okay.
We're going to take care of the police department.
Yeah. This is just good politics. This is good optics. Again, understanding, like, people watching this, you are now aware, if you weren't before, that what happened in East Palestine is a result, at least partially a result, of what Trump did. But a lot of people there, of course, don't know. Or if they've heard that, they don't believe it. Because they see Trump there, they see him talking with the people, they see him relating with them, eating at McDonald's. Trump loves McDonald's, which we all do. at least I do. But this is him in campaign mode and him doing a fantastic job there, regardless of the facts around the situation, doing a great job there relating to people on the ground. And this is part of why he is so popular with a certain base that doesn't care about the facts, doesn't care about policy, doesn't care about what politicians actually should be doing, but see someone like this that in their minds cares, even though he does not care about them, but he does a good job at pretending he does. And this has an impact on people. Meanwhile, where's Joe Biden? Ukraine. Which, look, whatever. Like, fine, go to Ukraine, but maybe delay it. I'm sure this was in the planning stages for weeks. They didn't want to move the date because they had things set up and everything. But you have this disaster happen in East Palestine. The least you could do is maybe at least send Pete Buttigieg there. Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, still has not gone there. And regardless of going there or not, because again, all of that is optics. I don't care about that stuff. It impacts people. But I mean, the reason I'm talking about it is because it does impact people. It impacts how people think about politicians, how they vote. But what I care about is the politics or the policy of it. Buttigieg should be out there saying, hey, Trump repealed this break rule. We're going to reinstitute it immediately. We're going to fight as hard as we can to ensure these trains are regulated, that this industry, that this corporation doesn't get away with this mess. But he's not doing that. They've only made excuses for why they can't reinstitute it, as opposed to doing the work necessary to do it and ensuring that the blame is put where it should be. But they have done an absolutely terrible job, just optics alone, around this issue, regardless of even the politics, which of course they've also completely screwed up. But here's another example. This was shared by the Burn Identity, saying, remember, we're in the 2024 race cycle. Ohio is a battleground. Trump says you are not forgotten. Optics. Doesn't matter that he deregulated the railways. Right now, people of East Palestine are suffering. Trump is there. Biden and Buttigieg are no-shows. So here is a clip from Trump's speech.
We do want to take you live to East Palestine, Ohio, where President Trump is speaking at a fire station. Let's listen in.
Need, and that's what it is. It was an hour of a need, but they've done some incredible work in a very short period of time, and they're getting a lot of credit for it, and they have to be getting credit. We tell you that when they do good, and we tell you when people do bad. Your chief and your police and your mayor and everybody else, they've done incredibly. And Bill, JD's been here for 4 days. I've been watching him every day.
J.D. Vance, Ohio senator, who did not say a word about the derailment until 10 days later when he was on Fox News as a way to politically benefit himself. The idea that J.D. Vance cares at all when it's his party that deregulated the railways to lead to this disaster is just ridiculous. But let's continue.
J.D. Vance has been incredible. To the people of East Palestine and to the nearby communities in Ohio and Pennsylvania, we have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We stand with you, we pray for you, and we will stay with you in your fight to help answer, and the accountability that you deserve. We'll have that accountability. It'll all be out there very clearly. What this community needs now are not excuses and all of the other things you've been hearing, but answers and results, and that's what I think you're going to say. Norfolk Southern needs to fulfill its responsibilities and obligations, and I see that they're starting to come here now, too, because they also were saying they're not coming, but it means...
Now you have Trump pretending to care about corporate greed and trying to put the blame on Norfolk Southern when they're the ones that deregulated the industry because the rail companies, including Norfolk Southern, paid them $6 million, which isn't even that much money, but gave their party $6 million, and then they deregulated the industry to benefit Norfolk Southern and others. Just the shit he gets away with is incredible. But this is why it's important it's important to highlight this, because a lot of people, again, even if they hear the facts, they will not care, which is why you have to also be good at optics. You have to, the Democratic Party, and look, to be clear, there's been, I saw the Pennsylvania governor there, Josh Shapiro. Of course, Democrats have been there in various positions, but you have to have the actual administration. Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg. Again, even if it's just for show, you have to play this game. This is the game you have to play. This is how people absorb politics. If you're not even showing up and Trump has a legitimate criticism of you, then that only hurts you. And that hurts the ability for you to argue that it's his fault when you are not even willing to show up there and talk to the people on the ground.
That the affected communities beyond the borders of East Palestine are going to be taken care of. And they've said so, and they've said it loud and clear, and I think they probably mean it. I sincerely hope that when your representatives and all of the politicians get here, including Biden, they get back from touring Ukraine, that he's got some money left over, because we're now at $117 billion. And as you probably know, Europe, when you add it all up, is at about $10 billion. That's a big difference, wouldn't you say?
Showing up is half the battle. And Trump there criticizing the amount of money being poured into Ukraine, which you can accurately criticize. And the lack of focus being put on people that are actually living in the country. Look, this messaging works. And for Buttigieg and Biden not to have a counter message, or at least one that isn't as effective because you're not actually there in East Palestine, is, again, it shows you how just terrible they are at all of this. Another video here. So this is Trump getting lots of cheers from the people there. Apparently, so you can't really hear his answer here, but someone asked, "What's your message to Joe Biden?" Trump's response, "Get over here." But here's a little taste of this.
Thank you, sir. Honor to meet you, sir. Mr. Trump, what do you make it about Biden not showing up? You showing up before he did.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Hey, Trump, take a picture of my phone. A picture? There he is.
Now, look, it's important to point out that a lot of voters here are already Trump supporters, right? Like, it's, you know, it seems unlikely that he is potentially bringing in any sort of new support, or at least flipping people from Biden to him. But where you do pick up support are people who just don't normally vote, are not really engaged. And what they see is Donald Trump showing up and Joe Biden out in Ukraine. You can't deny the impact of something like that. Again, showing up is half the battle here. If you're not even willing to show up in a timely fashion, the derailment was on the 3rd, 20 days ago. It doesn't bode well for your chances in this state generally. But I could play more. It's just a lot of praise, you know. There's not much else to really see here. Let me go to the last clip. This is a clip of a local news report. I just found this kind of amusing.
Trump, who is running in next year's presidential election, met with community members and local officials to get an update on cleanup efforts on the ground. As part of his visit, he also donated more than a dozen pallets of water and cleaning supplies.
A dozen? That's it? Okay. It just doesn't seem like a whole lot when you're Donald Trump. But yeah, that's not gonna matter, unfortunately. The actual real impact of his visit, which isn't much, is not going to matter. What matters is the optics of all of this. And you could even argue, I think correctly argue, that Democrats would have a tougher time getting away with something like this. If they're the ones that led directly to a derailment like this, a disaster like this, and then they show up and pretend to care, I have a hard time believing that they would get away with it the way that Trump right now is getting away with it in East Palestine. But even if you argue that the playing field is uneven, you still got to play the game. You still got to show up. You still got to care. You still got to do something. And for Buttigieg and Biden to be complete no-shows, there is a real gap in actual leadership in the Democratic Party. And as long as you have people, neoliberals like Joe Biden and Buttigieg, show up and not ultimately even offer to change what Trump did, what Trump deregulated, I don't know. It just, there has to be a complete shift in how the Democratic Party operates with a focus towards working class individuals. and have some real meat behind those words. But right now they don't have that. And even though Trump helped to create this disaster, he has found a way to benefit off of it.